Well, howdy, physics sleuths and inquisitive souls, and welcome again to another Sermon of Sean. So, we're going to be talking about the prophecy of the Pope today. Shouldn't be too much to it. It's not really that incredible deep of a thing. I think I might have briefly glossed over to mention it before, but we're going to do its own little proper episode on this. Since it's a prophecy, I must wear my prophecy octopus. Although I should have worn them before when I did the other one 2 weeks ago for my prophecy in December, which, just so you know, as I am saying, December, probably. I mean, it could be January or November, but I'm pretty confident there's going to be an earthquake that's going to destroy the Dome of the Rock. I think that's going to happen in December because that's how the timeline seems to be working out for how this Great Tribulation is going. So it's pretty much coming around very quickly now that we're running out of time and there isn't a whole lot left. So it's kind of a thing, you know. I'm going to do a lot more videos, hopefully convincing you that we are in the final year of the Great Tribulation, unfortunately. Or fortunately, really, depending on how you look at things. I mean, if you're a bad person, then yeah, it sucks to be you, unfortunate. But if you're a good, kind-hearted person who's tortured by this wretched world, then it could be the greatest day of your life. So, let's begin, shall we? Right down this rabbit hole. All right. So, the timeline that I've got predicted so far is between April and November of 2026 is when Putin's going to push the button and nuke all NATO countries, which is going to cause like a 5-month long nuclear winter, killing off 2/3 of the entire planet. But this is just a possibility. In reality, what I believe is far more likely is it will be from July to November. So this 5-month period is realistically when the nukes are probably going to hit. I just have to include these because it is a possibility at this time. It all depends from technically, supposedly 7 years to the day of when the seventh angel poured his vial into the air, and through the air it spread, which is COVID, as we would know. That would be an aerial pandemic started by that, kicking off this whole shaborg. And yeah, we don't know the exact date, but I can tell you this 100% a fact. COVID had been around longer than you were told it was around. It was probably released on purpose into the Chinese population, or maybe it was accidental, but once they realized that it was out, like the WF or not the WF, the one that Bill Gates owns practically, that deals with all the viruses and vaccines and stuff. They realized that it was out, and so they had their little event 201 and what was it, New York City. And it was just a couple weeks before they officially announced COVID was a real thing in China. And they basically told everybody, you have to lock down and do what we tell and force vaccination or you're going to kill everybody. And so they had this and they told everybody, you have to do this or we're all going to die. And so they did this as they were instructed to. It's all pretty interesting. But once they figured out that was around, but the virus was so light that it wasn't really killing a whole lot of people, but some people were dying from it, like sick people. So yeah, they got involved and forced their hands on things and tried to make a whole lot of money on that vaccine. Boy, didn't they. But we don't know the exact date. COVID possibly could have been spread as far out as April, because keep in mind, as soon as they started testing for it, they found it everywhere. They wanted you to believe that, oh no, the Chinese people, when they were sick, they flew around the world and it affected little groups. It grew into very quickly large people. No, this is not what happened. It already spread, bro. It was already spread like globally, like at least a month before you ever even heard the word, coronavirus. So it was just as they started testing for it, they started finding it everywhere. Go figure. All right, so prophecy of the popes comes from the Vatican, right? That crazy place. This is that one room in the Vatican, like their one hall, the Serpent Cathedral, and its altar, and it's pretty radical, right? Got like big snake eyes and snake teeth, and a big snake scales just staring you down as you're, looking at whatever's on stage. And then you can see, like, here's, the stage. See how large it is. It's ginormous. I mean, this dwarfs the Pope in his giant chair, and it's just like a incredible statue. As you can see, I mean, that's pretty sick looking, right? Pretty gnarly. I'd love to have that as my bedroom decor personally, but I'm kind of a weirdo. But anyways, the Vatican. So the Vatican originally started, I guess, like Peter was the first pope, technically. With Jesus' disciples, and then it went on to its own little thing, the Catholic Church. And technically, you could argue it is the most holy endeavor, the most holy institution on earth, in the eyes of God. Although I would argue that he prefers whatever church or religion is pitting out the good people he loves, And I don't think that the best this world has had to offer have been Catholics for a while. I'm sorry, I just don't think it is. So I wouldn't expect God just to instinctively love you just because you're a Catholic, but Catholics sure think he does. So this prophecy of the Pope, it started from a Archbishop, Malachi. Okay, and in 1139, Malachi, the Archbishop, was summoned, and I think he was from Ireland or something. I'm not mistaken. And he's summoned by Pope Innocent II to receive 2 wool palliums for the Metropolitan Sees Army in Cashel. I don't know. It's a thing I guess he had to do. So he's in Pope, or he's in not Pope. He's in Rome, right? He's being summoned there to do this errand, and no cigarettes today, guys. I really don't smoke as much as you would think, or drink for that matter. All right, Saint Malachi. So he's in Rome, all right, and he gets these visions. Okay, when he's in there, Malachi reportedly experienced visions of future popes, which he recorded as a sequence of cryptic phrases. All right, so he would see an image, I guess, of a pope doing something, and then he would be like, "Well, I guess that's what that pope is all about." It's like you would have like a pope, Let's go. Let's take a look at the list. All right. So he does this, and he writes this list, okay, and when he's there in 1139. But because he's in the Vatican, he gives it to the Vatican and says, "Hey, I feel like this is something. I just saw this vision, pretty intense here." And so the Vatican takes a look at it and it's like, "Yeah, whatever, cool. Who cares?" And they put it away in storage, and he gets lost about until like 400 years later, 450, 460 years later, almost 500 years, and then somebody finds it, and this dude finds it, and basically interprets it, and publishes it. And a lot of people wanted this to be published because even though they'd known it existed, no one had ever seen it, before. It all been stuffed away in the Vatican and those crazy, creepy places in the nooks and corners where you'd expect it. All right. So he releases the list, right, and interprets it, and just in time while they're doing a papal conclave. And what they realize is that he wrote this list like in 1139. Okay, so it picks up on the Pope after the one he saw. So the whole list is predictive. He's not seeing anything from the past from his perspective or his point of view. Okay, it's totally all from the future, starting just 4 years after he started writing the list. Okay, or wrote the list. And the first one is from a castle of the Tiber, and that is Guido di Castello. And the explanation is Celestine II was born in Città di Castello, formerly called Tibernum, on the banks of Tiber. So, he was born in a castle from Tiber. And this explains what he sees of it, right? So he does this for like 112 popes. He gets 112 names, or not names. He doesn't know their names, but he knows their mottos. He knows what they are from, what they're about. And to be fair, some of these, I don't know how many exactly, but a fair amount, people have had a lot of trouble trying to match up to the Pope that it's supposed to correspond to, They have these explanations here, but there's some of them that don't really make a whole lot of sense. Out of a lonesome prism. Interesting. Victor IV. He was a Cardinal of St. Nicholas in Tullian prison. Interesting. All right, but a lot of these do. You can see they might have had to dig around a bit, but they were able to be like, well, this makes perfect sense. Why this motto would explain this Pope. And so a lot of them do make perfect sense, and that in itself is remarkable. That the vast majority of these actually hold up fairly well on a level that we can appreciate without too much intellect having to dig deep into this, and some of them not so much. All right. So we got 112 names. All right, and 112 names takes about as long as it takes to get to the 20th century, because some of these popes, man, they served for a long time, like 50 years. Some of them, they didn't serve that long, maybe only a few years. Like this one was only 10 years. Innocent the Sixth. Interesting. This guy only did 8 years. 8 years. This guy did a while. It's at like 20 almost. So, okay. Let's go down, right? Let's go down to the good stuff. Okay. Now, keep in mind, this list wasn't found until 1590. Okay. So when they found this list and published it for all to see, they had already had hundreds of years of popes that it had been lined up with internally, hence proving the validity of the document or the vision in itself. So it was taken very serious. How could you not, when it's got all these things that you can easily look up and be like, okay, this lines up a little too well to be a daydream that someone got. This has to be like an actual legitimate, vision that this guy got from God. Okay. So we go down to the 100th, and Pope John Paul I of the half moon. Proponents of the prophecies have attempted to link this motto of John Paul by referring to the light of the moon and interpreting his birth name as meaning from the white light. So this is one of those ones where I said that, they kind of had some trouble trying to attribute this motto to this guy. Were they able to do it? Technically, but it's not a real nice, clean fit, is it? It's kind of all messy. So it's some of these don't line up perfectly well, but some of these, like Pope John Paul II, the guy that was Pope for the vast majority of my lifetime. In fact, yeah, from pretty much the day I was born until I was like old man. From the laborers of the sun, the eclipse of the sun. Okay, from the labor of the sun, of the eclipse of the sun. Now, proponents of the prophecies find significance in occurrence of solar eclipses, where in the world, on the dates of John Paul II's birth and funeral, other attempts to link the Pope's motto have been more forced to include drawing the connection to Copernicus, who formulated a comprehensive heliocentric model of the solar system. Okay, both were Polish and lived in Krakow parts of their lives. Interesting. But that's pretty radical, right? That when he was born, and the day of his funeral, there was a solar eclipse. Okay, the occurrence of solar eclipses, and it's saying, from the labor of the sun to the eclipse of the sun. So it's the eclipse of the sun is pretty much a solar eclipse by anyone's definition. So the fact that this man's birthday and funeral both were held during a solar eclipse, and this prophecy says, there's a solar eclipse involved this dude. I mean, come on. How much more radical can you get? All right. So then we got Benedict, the guy that took over after Pope John Paul II. All right. His is Glory of the Olive. Okay. Proponents of the prophecy generally try and draw a connection between Benedict and the Olivetan order to explain this motto. Benedict's choice of papal name is after Saint Benedict Nursia, founder of Benedict order, in which Olivetanians are one branch. Other explanation reference to being a pope dedicated to peace and reconciliations, of which the olive branch is the symbol. So, yeah, they were able to, fit this one too. Not quite as radical as like Pope John II, but then again, Pope John II was Pope for a very long time. And Pope Benedict was not, only about 8 years, which seems to be about the average for a lot of these guys. Okay? Now, in the final persecution of the Holy Roman Church, there will sit, and the Lagavanium in his own line and followed by a full stop, while generally read as part of the Peter the Roman prophecy, other interpreters viewed as a separate, incomplete sentence, explicitly referring to the additional popes between Glory of the Olive and Peter the Roman. Okay? So, this one, I guess, is sit in there. In the final persecution of the Holy Roman, there will sit. So, think about this. We are after Pope Benedict, okay? And we are about to start the final pope, which is Pope Francis, is who this guy is. 112. This is Pope Francis, okay? The guy that was after Benedict was Pope Francis. So, it's saying that while this guy is going on, you're going to have persecution of the Holy Roman Church. Tribulations, okay? The Great Tribulation. So, Peter the Roman, who will pasture his sheep in many tribulations, and when these things are finished, the city of 7 hills, Rome, will be destroyed, and dreadful judge will judge his people. The end. The end. Dunsies. No more popes. Tribulation. God's great 7-year tribulation has occurred. It has begun during this pope papacy, okay? And it will end during the next pope, who is 113, who he doesn't have on the list because he's not significant in any way, who is our current pope, okay? So 112 is Pope Francis, okay? Peter the Roman. Many analysis prophesies the open interpretation additional popes come from the glory, the olive, and Peter the Roman. Popular speculation proponents prophecy attach prediction of Benedict's successor. After Francis's election as pope, proponents in the internet's forum tried to link him to the prophecy. Theories include a connection to his namesake, Francis of Assisi, whose father was named Pietro Peter, and that he was of Italian descent. Okay? So, this prophecy is basically saying that Pope Francis is the last true pope who will have a full papacy in the papacy in the Vatican. Okay, he will be the last full complete pope. The guy who comes after him, the end of the world is going to occur soon enough that he's not even really mentioned in this, because it's like, whatever. He's only going to be pope for like a year before this all goes to hell. What's the big deal? All right. And our current pope, after Pope Francis, there's Pope Francis, okay? So he served until his death in 2025. And after Pope Francis, we have Pope Leo, okay? Pope Leo. So this guy is only going to be pope for a short period of time before the Great Tribulation is complete. So the Great Tribulation starts here with Francis's rule, okay? And according to me, the Great Tribulation started, the 7-year Great Tribulation started in 2019, towards the end of the year, when COVID was released and spread as an aerial pandemic. That was the final sign in the Bible before the tribulation begins. And that sign was the seventh angel poured his vial into the air, and through the air it spread, and the voice of the throne said, "It is done." What else do you think that's going to refer to if not COVID? And all the things before that have been completed. All the signs before that, starting from the first, which is another pandemic that Dr. Fauci handled, the AIDS pandemic, the very first sign, I believe, marks and sores for those who worship the beast and praise his image. And then all the signs have occurred in between. I got them all on another video if you want to see it. Just look up, 7 signs, I think it is, end of the world, whatever. I have it. Okay, so it occurs while Pope Francis is pope in 2019, but he serves for another 6 years during the Great Tribulation. And we know this guy was a mess, okay? Like he basically, was all about homosexuals, and saying like love is love and all this, right? But if you understand our God and what he's trying to do with our people, our humans, then you'll understand why homosexuality is haram and not okay in the eyes of God. It's not just simply because it's a sin. It's a really bad sin. And it's not just because you're caving into your desires, your lusty desires, and taking the low road through life, which God hates. is mainly because you are perpetrating and facilitating an alternate pathway that diverges from what God wants you to do. And by your very existence, you are encouraging confused young people who are suffering immensely to take this path. And this is why it's a huge sin in the eyes of God, homosexuality. Okay, I'll go more into this on a big video later on. I can explain all this to you and everything in great detail. I know everything now. There was a time once in this channel, just a couple years ago, when I looked you in the eyes and I told you I don't know everything yet, but I'm working on it. And one day I will. And now, here is the day where I am telling you in your eyes, now I do know everything. I do know everything now. And I'm more than willing to explain it to you and to, teach you everything that I've learned. I don't covet power. The knowledge truly is power. All right. So we got this guy. He's Pope, all right? During the final year of the tribulation. And he's not going to do anything of value, at least not in the eyes of God. Um, Although he has done some things to walk back a little bit of the homosexuality that Pope Francis indulged in, but he's not turning it away. He's basically saying, listen, if you're gay, that's okay. We can accept that here in the Catholic Church. Instead of explaining to you why being gay is wrong and what being gay is ultimately and why people become gay and how they become gay. And it's not because they were born gay. God didn't make you born gay. There's no gay gene. If it's on or off, you're gay. And it doesn't exist. It's not a thing. Okay? They've been looking for it for 30, 40 years now. They can't find it because it doesn't exist. Sorry. You did it to yourself. That's a fact of the matter. So, he's going to be Pope during the final year, okay? And another part of this prophecy is that people say that on the inner walls in the Vatican, where they have all the popes painted, okay? And this is like the size of a person, okay? This is ginormous, this painting. This is like 6 feet easily. Easily 6 feet. Huge. Um, they say there's only one more room after Pope Francis, and when that guy takes power, everything is going to die because there's no more open spots for anybody else to be painted on, and so that's like the end of the world. Boom. The Catholic Church knew it all along. They only had so many slots because I knew there's only so many slots. That is fake, because we can clearly see an image of here, and you can see there's tons, not tons, but there's a lot of empty spots here, and it goes around too. It goes around here. I saw another picture of it. Unfortunately, I don't have it here. There we go. Yeah, there it goes around. As you can see, tons of empty spots. And look, there's a guy right there, and you can see it's like I said. Maybe it's not quite 6 feet. Maybe it's more like 4.5, 5 feet. But it's pretty big. It's a pretty big spot. But there's tons of them. So that part of the prophecy we can debunk right here. It's not that the Catholic Church only knew or believe this prophecy so much that they only attribute so much wall space for the pictures of all the popes. That's just not true. Okay? As we can clearly see, there's lots more. But keep in mind, this is something that the Catholic Church has known about for almost 1,000 years. And I can guarantee you it probably was lost for a while because they didn't believe it. But the fact that someone discovered it proves that there was at least some people that did believe it that were actively referencing it as legitimate. Okay? I believe personally it is definitely legitimate because it fits perfectly into my timeline that I've attributed how this great tribulation is going down. Okay? I mean, it just fits perfectly. There's no. It's not like trying to pit like a square, block in a round hole or something. It fits in perfectly with my timeline, which is that Putin's going to nuke the world and that will end the Great Tribulation in 2026, late 2026, and then we'll have the 5 months of nuclear winter where the scorpions will run around stinging all the people that go outside but not kill them. Gee, I wonder what that could be. The star Wormwood falls from the sky after the third day after the nukes drop and contaminates all of the fresh waters. And then you have scorpions running around stinging people that go outside. Gee, I wonder what that is. Could that be radiation and radiation sickness? Is basically what the Bible is trying to explain. So it's all coming down. It's all coming down here very quickly, and um, it's gonna happen. This is 100% gonna happen. I can guarantee it. All right. I mean, I can tell you things that you just won't believe that I've seen with my own eyes. I've seen them, and I can tell you other things too, and you wouldn't believe me. You would think I'm crazy and stupid. But if you were there with me, you would understand. This is not just a fairy tale that was created by humans long ago for bullshit reasons. This is real. This is very real. All religions were started by the same God, and they serve the same purpose. And they're all very real. And make no mistake about it, for a long time, your God has been saying, listen, you're mine. I madeth you, and I giveth you life. I keepeth you alive with all this micromanaging bullshit because you're so bad. But if you don't evolve according to my timeline and the rate at which I believe you need to evolve at, I'm going to call you a dead end and end this whole shebang and start over. And God has done this numerous times. Do you think it's kind of interesting how they keep finding all these different species of intermediates to humans going back even a million years? Even though we know clearly the oldest civilization that humanity has ever had is only 10,000 years. Going back anything beyond that is completely unpredictable, and you're essentially just talking about cavemen at that point. But we have skulls that they found that are like up to a million years old, man. Some of them hundreds of thousands, and that alone is hundreds of thousands of years older than they should be. I think God's been doing this for a long time, and He's been disappointed for a long time. And I would like to think that we are the ones that don't disappoint Him, but looking around, I'm sorry, I just don't feel that way about my species right now. I think you all kind of suck, to be honest. I'm sorry. And maybe it's better off this way. But on that note, we will end this. This has been the prophecy of the popes. Just more things, I think, giving momentum to what I've been saying now on this YouTube channel, at least for what, like 2 years? At least 3 years, maybe even longer? Which is that we are in the Great Tribulation. This is going to happen. And we are finally in the final year, meaning we have less than a year. Never again, my child, Will you have another October the 14th and things are normal like they are now? Never again. Your next October the 14th, I guarantee you, you're going to be huddled up, hiding in some nook and cranny in a house somewhere or an apartment complex or wherever you can, crying and begging night after night for God to save you. And I just want to end this on telling you this one thing. If you survive long enough to be in the 1/3 of that survives Putin's nukes, he will answer your prayers. He will save you. He says this in the Bible. He will use the four winds from the four corners of the planet and blow away all the wormwood and restore and renew the earth for the survivors. That's what your God's going to do for you. But he ain't going to do it until 2/3 of the human race have died to Putin's nukes. Because fuck you. You're a piece of shit human. And you know what you did to deserve that. I don't need to fucking say it out loud. You know what you did. Adios, muchachos. Until next time.
Like, subscribe, submit.